I think that this bull run could be so legendary when it comes to something like RSR, even though this is not financial advice. Now, the reason being is because 35 cents, that right there is around a 38x from here. So hypothetically, if I were to put $1,000 into RSR as of right now, and let's say it were to go to the price of 35 cents, that $1,000 would hypothetically become around 38 grand. Now, I'm not telling anyone to buy RSR. This is just what I take a look at this situation as, but the way I view it is that RSR doesn't feel that bad. The hypothetical upside, in my opinion, currently is better than Shiba Inu and Dogecoin. So instead of me getting into that random nonsense, RSR just feels a lot better to me. Now, the way I view it as well is that sometimes people overlook RSR. They don't think of it as a special project. They think it's kind of lame. But in my opinion, it's very special because I think in order to believe in a project, we have to kind of understand what the fundamentals are all about. And when it comes to Reserve as a project, it doesn't disappoint because, quite simply put, Reserve is focused on something called stable currency. And they're not actually looking to build their own currency themselves. Instead, what they do is that they allow anyone to create a token that is backed one-to-one by a collection of other tokens, and this is something called an R token. Now, for example, we take a look at something called EUSD. EUSD is a very popular R token, and that is backed by a combination of USDC and USDT. So that's amazing, right? Again, it's backed by a collection of other tokens, so I think it just gives more stability. So that's amazing. And keep in mind, it's even been stated that anyone can create an R token without writing a single line of code. And also at the same time, in some cases, it can allegedly be done in just a matter of minutes. So we can only imagine that. Let's say a project wants to make an R token. They don't have to wait 3 days, 3 months, 3 weeks. No. It can be done in theoretically, right? For just around a couple minutes. I mean, that's kind of insane, really. It's a very fast process, very amazing. And also, not to mention, they don't have to write a single line of code. So this is very amazing. The way to take a look at this is that it's basically like Amazon Prime one-day delivery, or should I say same-day delivery. So this is the way I view this. This is very amazing. Now, keep in mind, RSR does play a role into this because if you take a look at it, for instance, RSR can be staked on an R token. Now, they can choose whichever R token they want, but I'm just saying RSR can be staked on a R token. And then, of course, by staking it, hypothetically, people can get, rewards. And also RSR does act as a governance token for this R token. So yeah, this is very amazing in my opinion. So again, it's a very simple and easy to understand project. It's not overly complicated. And it's a no-brainer for me, really, because the way you take a look at it is that hypothetical upside feels really good to me, theoretically, not to mention the project is not focused on some random nonsense. So again, Reserve has all the right pieces in place. RSR has good exchange listings, a good community. Also, it doesn't have a bad sentiment in a sense that when the market did pretty well, this went along with the ride, somewhat. And I think that, if anything, showcased that, hey, you know what? This is a project that during good market conditions, it does gain attention. And we see a little bit of that as of right now, a little bit of a good recovery. So the way I take a look at RSR is that it's proven. Now, historical performance doesn't guarantee future performance, but in my opinion, it at least leaves some clues in a sense that, again, this is not left out when it comes to the attention when the bull run is doing good. When the market is doing good, it feels like this is not left behind. At least it gives me that vibe. Not to mention when it comes to Reserve, we'll see that, Paul Atkins, who was an advisor to the Reserve Rights Foundation, not too long ago, he was nominated to serve as the chair of the SEC. Now, again, we all know when it comes to the SEC, we saw Gary Gensler and all this type of stuff and all the Ripple stuff, or should I say the Ripple nonsense. Hopefully, thankfully, that's gone forever. So now I think this, if anything, is a good sign for something like Reserve because it showcases that, hey, the people there, they're real deal individuals, especially when it comes to the team. Now, the way I view it as well is this. What I'm putting into RSR anyways is what I originally would have put into my savings account. But then, because I find that a little bit boring and I don't want to go into the S&P 500, I would much rather choose something like cryptocurrencies instead. And in this case, of course, RSR. I'm not only just holding RSR, but I'm just saying Now, some people like to say that, oh man, if you put it in your savings account, it can't dip like 50% within a matter of days or whatever, or even just a day. I'm totally aware of that. But then my fear of losing is not as great as my desire, I should say, or my anticipation of hypothetically winning. So the way you take a look at it is that if, let's say, my fear was greater than my, desire to hypothetically achieve something better, then of course I wouldn't even be in the world of cryptocurrencies to begin with. But then because it's the opposite, again, because I have that desire which is greater than my fear of losing, here's why I believe in cryptocurrencies. Not to mention, some people that I know out there, they're putting something that they're not willing to lose. Because I've seen some people out there, they put their rent money, their car payment money, their grocery bills, whatever, right? Or should I say something they would have used for their groceries, and they put that into cryptocurrencies in hopes that in a week or two it does do well. What happens if it doesn't? Sure, it could do good, who knows, right? But then I'm just saying, that's not something that I would do. Because if I did do that, I think first of all, it would represent, for me at least, a lack of emotional discipline, or just a lack of discipline in general, not to mention a lack of emotional control, because it shows that I probably got overtaken by the emotions in that case. The way I take a look at it is that, again, that's not something what I would do. Now, instead, what I do is I dollar cost average. So anytime I'm income, I'm acquiring, I'm holding, and I'm just waiting. Literally, that's it. I mean, there's no fancy day trading. I don't even swing trade. I don't do any of this type of stuff. It's not like when RSR does a 2x, I'm like, oh man, let's take out these profits and put it into a random meme coin. This is not what I do. I don't do this type of stuff. I just like to keep it simple. This is what I do because that type of stuff is not my style. This is my style. Just by being a little bit boring, I guess, by just accumulating, holding, and just waiting. But it's more simple. No stress for me. Sure, the portfolio could go down. But again, like I mentioned before, I'm looking at better days ahead. So it really doesn't concern me. I'll still accumulate more. And 35 cents, if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $20 billion. Now, again, when people take a look at something like this, they may think, okay, it's a little bit crazy because that is around a 38x from here. But in my opinion, would it seem that bad? Because if we take a look at these projects that are focused on the payments market, which arguably I would say that something like Reserve is, and the payments market is currently valued at over $2 trillion. But even besides that, if let's say XRP, which it is, if you take a look at Ripple, focused on the payments market, much like Stellar, aka XLM, let's say during a fully fledged bull run, XRP went to a market cap of around $800 billion. And let's say something like, XLM went to a market cap of around $300 billion. So that's combined, right? XRP and XLM in that scenario, $1.1 trillion. Let's say we use that example. Now, if it achieves that during a fully fledged bull run, are we saying that like way less than 5% of that can't flow into this? This is the way to take a look at it. So I just don't feel like a $20 billion market cap is too much to ask for in the grand scheme of things, at least hypothetically, in my opinion. All I have to do right now is stay patient because usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. This is just more so of a food for thought type of situation. There's no guarantees, but I just don't think the bull run's over, really. I think if anything, I'd rather believe in that as opposed to thinking that the bull run is over because it doesn't make sense for me to think that, around $100,000 is the peak for Bitcoin. I just don't think so because we currently have over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research at least. Now, the way you take a look at it is this. If let's say Bitcoin has never ever reached $150,000 yet, at least at the time of this recording, and we already have that many crypto owners, what would it look like if Bitcoin went to the price of $200,000? Let's say $300,000. Would there only be around 600 million? I think maybe a lot more. Theoretically, maybe 700 million, 800 million, who knows? Because the pattern is a little bit evident in this case. Back in the peak of the 2021 bull run, around 300 million crypto owners. Ever since then, we pretty much doubled that, right? Even currently. And we have not seen an altcoin season like back then, generally speaking. And yet we already have this many crypto owners. So if Bitcoin does a lot better, let's say it 2x's 100K to around $200,000, right? Not that much to really achieve, in my opinion, like not that difficult, right? Would there only be around 600 million crypto owners? Yeah, I just don't see why that would be the case. And also, a high tide raises all ships, as the old saying goes. If Bitcoin reaches those levels, RSR, I don't see why I wouldn't go along with the ride. And 35 cents, that's still my price target for this one. I just got to stay patient. And I'm not going to pull up a price chart, draw some random triangles or any of this type of stuff. Keep in mind, if I draw SpongeBob or some random triangles on a price chart, do you think that the market's going to listen to what I have to draw or, follow what I draw? I mean, come on, it's not going to do that. It doesn't care. I can draw on a price chart all day long. The market's not going to listen to me. It's going to wake up when it wants to wake up. So when people like to ask me, oh, why don't you pull up a price chart and draw all these random things? No, man, I'm not going to do that because first of all, the market doesn't care what I draw. Second of all, why would I base the fundamentals of a project only on the price chart? I have to take a look at what it's trying to do. I have to take a look at the community. I have to take a look at the exchange listings. I have to take a look at what it did in the past when the market was doing good. Looking at the price chart, it's a very small glimpse of what the project did. You know what I mean? It's just the price. That's it. They're not taking a look at what it's trying to do. All this type of stuff is not doing that. So I think better days are ahead. And again, 35 cents wouldn't surprise me whatsoever during this bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Melanie the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.